So this is probably one of the most messed up, crazy prom stories I've ever heard from anyone. Not even just subscribers, my personal experience, anything. This one's pretty ridiculous. I think you'll enjoy it, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new. Leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing. With that all being said, let's just jump into this prom story. So anyways, at this subscriber's school, prom was a pretty big deal. He was in high school, and this was junior prom. So senior prom was like a bigger deal, but junior prom was like the first dance that like only juniors would have. That was like the first time it was like their dance. Like the senior prom was like bigger, it was a lot more extravagant, but at the same time, like this was like the first. And they had like a couple other like school sponsored dances before, but they would be anyone can show up. It wasn't as interesting. You wouldn't ask people to these dances, and like, you know, that's a pretty big deal. I always would, you know, it was always a big deal at my high school when that stuff would happen. So let's just jump ahead to the day of the dance, right? So there was a little bit of a pregame party at at the subscriber's friend's house. And so everyone was there and chilling, having a pretty good time. And a lot of them were pretty excited because a lot of them were going with dates that, you know, they were kind of interested in. So not everyone who went to the prom was going with someone that they had like some kind of romantic interest in, but quite a few were. So it was pretty strongly encouraged that you go with someone because you could totally go alone. However, there were a lot of like it was designed for people to go with dates. Like there's a lot of activity, whatever, right? So not everyone went with dates. Not everyone who went as dates were going like because of, you know, they're interested. However, quite a few of them were going as kind of like romantic or potentially romantic, you know, question mark type thing. So it was a pretty good energy in the, you know, the pregame type party for this dance. Everyone's pretty excited. And so anyways, right, the subscriber was kind of just like hanging out there. I think he's just kind of sitting on the couch, just kind of, you know, just taking it in. And that's when his friend Ben comes up to him. And the subscriber's like, yeah, like, he's like, yo, what's up? And Ben's like, dude, like, I need your opinion on something. And the subscriber's like, yeah, okay. A little bit confused on what he needs, like, his perspective on. Like, that's kind of like, not something you always ask, but, I mean, sure, whatever, right? And that's when Ben goes and be like, yeah, you know James. So there's this kid, we're going to call him James. And this kid, James, they were friends with him because they've known him forever. They weren't friends with him because, you know, he was a good kid, because he was not. He was really not. When they, like, met him when he was, like, 8, I'm sure he was fine then. But a lot of people will, especially in high school, a lot of people will, you know, they can veer down some not so great routes. And I'm not saying this kid wasn't good because, you know, I don't know, he smoke a little bit or something. I'm not saying that, which you guys shouldn't do that if you're in high school. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad kid, right? He was a bad kid because he just had bad intentions with, like, what he did. He just had straight up bad intentions with, like, the stuff he would do. So the subscriber's like, yeah, okay, well, what's up with James? And Ben's like, dude, like, I think James is going to pull a pretty bad prank. Like, I don't know what it is, but I was hearing that, like, I don't know, that, like, there's some rumblings, like, he was talking with one of his friends, and he said something about, like, you know, the cake. And so, you know, Ben basically told the subscriber, like, should we, like, tell people not to eat the cake? It's like, I'm not really basing this off of anything. So at this point, right, the subscriber's like, I don't know if we should, because, you know, I mean, they don't know, like the thing is, just because, you know, James was saying something about the cake, maybe he just didn't like the flavor of the cake. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was nothing, right? The subscriber didn't want to have a ton of, like, he didn't want to basically accuse James of something before anyone would even know, right? You know, before anyone would even know. It'd be a little strange. So the subscriber's like, like, I think I might be, you know, skipping on the cake anyways. I'm not super hungry. And, but at the same time, I don't think we need to, like, cause a stir. There's not necessarily any reason why we should suspect James, like, did anything. So, spoiler, James did do something, but we'll get to that later. So, you know, Ben was like, all right, man, like, I'm probably not going to eat the cake either. Like, I'm just a little sussed out. So James is also known for, like, pulling some pretty bad pranks on people. So that's kind of the reason why they were really kind of, I don't know, sketched out about having any of the cake. And so anyways, right, you know, the party just keeps going on. They're talking, whatever. And that's when, you know, the cake is brought down. And surprisingly, basically every kid, like, just doesn't have any. Not because they're sketched out because they think, oh, maybe James like messed with it. They don't think that, right? Just because, I don't know, just wasn't the vibe for cake. It was a pretty small cake too, so it, wasn't a big deal. However, this one kid who we're going to call Steve was like, yeah, sure, I'll have a couple slices. So he goes in, he's eating it. And the subscriber at that point kind of just had this weird feeling of like, should I do something? Here's the thing. You guys need to remember that I know I just told you that James did do something to the cake, but there is no reason why the subscriber should really think that James did something with the cake. Because at this point, all they have is that, the subscriber's friend Ben overheard James talking about the cake, like very briefly. And the only reason why they think that that might mean something bad is just James just has a bad rep, right? The only reason why they potentially are associating the cake with anything bad is because James associated with it, which is not like a super strong connection. So yeah, they don't really think anything of it, and it's time just kind of like to scooch ahead to the part where prom happens. So anyways, it's prom. It's big. It's a big day. It's a big day for all of them. They go out, they get to the school. People are kind of waiting outside. They get there a little bit early so they can like take photos, whatever, right? And that's when, so James, the subscriber, he finds his date, whatever. And they kind of like break off into their own little groups. So it's like the subscriber, he's hanging out with, right now he's hanging out with Ben, and he's also hanging out with Steve. So just like a reminder, because I've introduced a lot of names and I forget the names all the time. Steve is the guy who had the cake. Ben is the guy who overheard James, who is kind of the troublemaker kid, talking about the cake. So at this point, James is off doing something else. So anyways, they're all taking photos. Things are pretty chill. It's a good night. Life's good. They're all having a really good time. This is supposed to be like one of the better nights of their junior year, so they're trying to take it in as much as they can. And so eventually they get inside, and basically the gym is like the dance type location that they're having the prom at. It's the gym, the faculty or staff, right? They must have just kind of like cleared out the gym. They didn't go too crazy. They go really crazy for prom, apparently. Like they go all out. But it was still pretty cool. So anyways, right, sure enough, they're all kind of like, they get into the dance floor. They're still kind of in their groups or whatever. And that's when James is kind of like, I don't know, he just looks like I don't know, looks like he's a little sick or something. And the subscriber catches on this, and he's like, yo, like, are you good? And it's not James, sorry, it's Steve. And Steve's like, nah, dude, I'm good. Like, I'm fine, don't worry about me. He's like, do you happen to know where the bathroom is? And this is where things just go downhill. Like, the thing is, this situation escalated so incredibly quickly, it's ridiculous. So within 30 seconds of, Steve asking for this, the subscriber, I'm not going to reenact anything. I'm just going to vaguely describe it, and you guys can probably figure it out. He basically hears like a really strange farting noise. It's so gross. He hears like a strange farting noise, but it's like very clearly a lot more than just a fart. Like I'm not going into it. You guys can probably figure it out. Dude packed a bit more than just gas in that fart, right? And it was like intense too. Like it was freaking loud. The only reason why everyone didn't hear it at that very second was simply because loud music was playing. Like that was like a kind of quiet auditorium, dude would have been done. So yeah, like the fart. This is such a great story, guys. No, so at this point, Steve makes eye contact with the subscriber, and they're just looking at each other. And Steve has this look of horror on his face. And then a look of just like sheer anguish. He turns around and just starts sprinting towards the door. Unfortunately, I'm going to try and leave out some of the details, but let me just say that it did not, the kind of like the fart that was a bit more, did not stop at that point. It just kept going, and it got a little messy. It just, right. The important detail, though, is the subscriber watches this kind of in horror, and one person is paying attention. That person is James. And James leans over to his friend, points, and laughs. And here's the thing, it wasn't super obvious what just happened if you weren't literally right there. Like, besides James, apparently, more or less the only person who knew what happened was, the subscriber, at least for now. Probably a few people will figure out later on, but at least for now, you'd have to be right there to realize what just happened. And so, wait a minute. How does James know? And the subscriber picks up on this. So the subscriber immediately goes over to James, looks him in the eye, and says, "What did you do?" Real quick, if you made it as far into the video, comment PROM down below. PROMs can be the secret word of the day, just to see how many people made this far into the video. Of course, leave a like right now to claim your free nothing. It's a limited time offer. And also, if you're a Spotify user and you don't listen to the podcast or the stories on Spotify, link in the description to make sure you're following me on there. And finally, if you want to submit stories like people have done in all these videos, you go to my Instagram, which is @ConnorPugs. It has the verification check, so that's me. It's also just in the description if you want help spelling that. DM me the story, and yeah, that's how we do it around here. Anyways, let's get right back to it. Yeah, so at this point, the subscriber knows that James is up to something. So he's like, dude, like, what did you do? Because at this point, they both kind of knew that, something was up. And James is like, oh, I just had a little fun. And the subscriber's like, what do you mean you had a little fun? Like, that, like, I don't know what just happened to Steve, but something happened to Steve. Because, like, the subscriber wasn't trying to say that he crapped his pants, but bro did just crap his pants like crazy, which is not, like, a standard Steve behavior. By the way, that standard behavior, you got to get that checked out. Yeah, so the subscriber's like, dude, like, what did you do? And, at this point, James is like, it's a little fun, a little prank. Don't worry about it. And Steve's like, dude, or the subscriber's like, dude, that's not cool. Like, Steve just crapped his pants. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, what did you even do to him? And, at this point, not Steve, what's his name? James is like, I don't know if you're going to be all weird about it. I'm maybe not going to tell you. And the subscriber's like, look, I'm just curious, man. And the thing is, the subscriber was a bit more than curious. He was pretty mad, but he was also pretty curious. So basically, James goes on to say that, he was a little bored and he thought it'd be funny to pull a little prank where, he would bake his own cake, right? And he was the one who brought the cake. No one really knew who brought the cake. Like, they thought, like, I don't know, that, the Ben, whose mom was hosting the whole thing, like, maybe she made the cake or something. But basically, James was like, I'm gonna make a laxative cake. And the subscriber's like, you made a freaking laxative cake? Are you serious right now? You made a cake with laxatives in it? And, at this point, James is like, yeah, that'd be pretty funny. And the subscriber's just like, well, no, but also, you have time to spend all day, like, making a laxative cake? Like, and James like, dude, like, bro, like, I was just funny, right? And so the subscriber's like, all right, man, okay. Immediately goes over to Ben. And Ben's like, dude, do you know where, like, Steve is? Because I think Ben went off with his date for a second. So it was Ben and his date. And the subscriber's like, you're not going to believe this. So at the moment that he says you're not going to believe this, Steve's date comes over. It's like, hey, like, subscriber, have you seen where Steve is? And the subscriber's like, I think Steve just went to the bathroom real quick. And he kind of, like, tapped Ben on the shoulder and motioned for him to come over, because the subscriber wasn't about to expose Steve and his pant crap explosion moment to his date, which he low-key was trying to slide a little bit. That probably wasn't going to happen tonight, because dude was definitely going to need a change of, well, everything, and like 12 hot showers after this whole thing. But at the same time, he's trying to at least survive. He's trying to, like, at least maintain what he had before. Like, I don't know. I feel like hearing that your date violently crapped themselves is not a turn on, but I don't know, man. You do you. Nah, you don't do you on that one. That's where I draw the line. Yeah, so anyways, right, the subscriber pulls Ben, so many names, Ben aside, and Ben's like, dude, where's Steve? And the subscriber's like, look, you were right about that cake. And, Ben's like, what do you mean? And he's like, look, James over there, apparently he spent all day making a cake, and he put laxatives in the cake. And Ben's like, dude, what? And the subscriber's like, yeah, let's not even get into it now. The only person, like, think back, who ate that cake? And, Ben's like, now that I think about it, the only person who ate the cake was Steve. Like, only Steve. Like, it was kind of weird. And, the subscriber's like, yes. And you know why Steve's gone? And, at this point, Ben's like, did he have to go to the bathroom? The subscriber's like, yeah. And he started going to bathroom on the dance floor. And at this point, Ben's like, wait, what do you mean? And the subscriber kind of like elaborates further. I'm not going to because I already did it once. I don't need to do it again. And by the end of it, Ben's like, oh my God. So yeah, they go into the bathroom, both of them. And it hits them like a brick wall. They smell it immediately. They're like, oh my God. And at this point, right, you know, Steve's like, dude, like, you got to like get out of here, guys. Like, you don't want to deal with me. I'm a lost cause. So the subscriber and Ben are like, dude, no, like, you know, we already had our fun tonight. We're going to make sure that you got out of this okay. So basically, right, the subscriber calls up his mom, and his mom's like, hey, like, honey, is everything okay? And the subscriber's like, yes, I need you to just do this, and you can't ask too many questions. I promise I'll answer everything. So she's like, okay. Subscriber says, look, can you bring an extra pair of clothes right now? And the subscriber's mom's like, honey, I'd really like to know what's going on. And he's like, can you just do it? I promise I'll tell you everything. I'm okay. My friend's okay. Can you just do that? And she's like, sure, I'll be there in 20. So yeah, the subscriber's like, all right, I got you a fresh pair of clothes in 20. Like, what can we do from here? And yeah, so at this point, you know, Steve is like, dude, like, I'm not just going to need a fresh pair of clothes. I'm going to need to go home, like, right now. So the subscriber calls up his mom again and says, like, hey, can you also bring my friend Steve home? She's like, sure. And the subscriber's like, look, I'm going to need you to bring a towel. And she's like, a towel? He's like, yeah, I'm going to need you to bring a towel for him to sit on. And the, you know, subscriber's mom's like, honey, what do you mean? He's like, dude, I don't think he says dude, but he's like, mom, please, trust me. It's all going to make sense. I promise. You just need to trust me. Yeah, so anyways, right, eventually they walk out of the bathroom. They're like, look, before they say, Steve, we'll get you before, we're going to give you a seamless exit. No one's even going to know. They're like, well, we just got to finish some stuff up. So they leave, and they go find Steve's date, and they're like, hey, Steve's not really feeling that good. He just caught, like, the stomach bug or whatever. You might want to, you know, just be prepared if you have it too, which was a lie, but they need to make it convenient. Like, they need to make it believable. No one's being hurt. And she's like, oh my God, like that, I'm so sorry. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of tough for Steve. We're just going to make sure he's good on the way out. And she's like, can I go in and see if he's okay? And they're like, no, he's super contagious. And she's like, well, I've already been around him pretty close. So, like, I probably already, you know, have the bug or whatever. And at this point, right, you know, the reason why they're so adamant about Steve's date not seeing him is because he smells like he just crapped his pants, because he did. So understandably, they don't want him to see him, right? It's pretty understandable. They're like, oh, no, like, it's so nice of you, but no. Yeah, so anyways, eventually, you know, the subscriber feels his phone ring, so he picks it up, and his mom's like, hey, I'm outside. And he's like, okay, cool. Goes in the bathroom. He's like, Steve? Like, okay, first he goes up to his mom, and he gets a pair of clothes, and she's like, can you please tell me what's up? And he's like, Mom, like, you just need to trust me. I will tell you everything. I'll answer any question you have. It just has to be later. And she's like, okay, like, I trust you in this one. So the subscriber goes in, finds where, you know, Steve is. He hands Steve the clothes, and, you know, the subscriber's like, so what are we going to do with your clothes? And Steve's like, is there a trash can? The subscriber's like, dude, we can totally wash them. And Steve's like, no. Steve's like, no. And he's like, okay, can you just hand me the clothes? And Steve's like, dude, no, just hand me the trash can, which makes a lot of sense if you can figure it out. The subscriber just wasn't putting two and two together. Subscriber hands the trash can into the stall. Steve puts his clothes in. He puts on the new clothes, and he walks out. And boom, they're all hit with a wave of stench. Like, it's bad. It's really bad. But the subscriber understands that Steve's in a tough circumstance, so he's not going to be like, oh my God, dude, it smells like you crap your pants. I'm like, man, right? He's not going to say that. So they, you know, they make it to the door, and they have to go. They've already checked. There's no other way. They have to go through the dance floor to get back to the car. And Steve is kind of looking at his friend like, all right, man, we just got to do this. They've already told Steve's date to, like, stay away because he's feeling worse. He's feeling pukier or something. I don't know. Just like, oh, it's not a good idea. You're going to want to, like, back off. So anyways, they open up the door and they all walk out. They're, like, power walking out of there. And a couple heads turn. They're like, yo, where are you guys going? And the subscriber's like, oh, we'll be right back. We'll be right back. Stay right there. Eventually, they get out the door and they get to the car, right? They open the car door and there's a towel in the back seat. as the subscriber instructed, and Steve sits down. And the subscriber's mom, you could just look at her face, and her face just curls up because she gets a whiff, and she's like, oh, good heavens. She's like, oh my God, right? So the subscriber's like, hey, like, can you just drive him back to his house? So gives her the coordinates, she puts him in the GPS, Steve gets back home, and so eventually the subscriber's picked up from the dance like an hour / hour and a half later. His mom's like, you need to tell me what just happened. And Steve's like, all right. The subscriber's like, all right, brace yourself. If you made this far into the video and want to support the channel, click on one of the videos on the screen right now. If you're listening on Spotify, listen to another podcast, and peace.